Hi, Brandon. Mr. Parrish here with a few comments about the working draft for your thesis-based paper. Looks like you're maybe halfway through the writing part of it. Some questions about how you're introducing the sources to think about as you finish the final draft. First thing, this colon that appears at the end of your title. Obviously, a colon separates one part of your title from the next part, so if there is no next part, just delete the colon. I guess you could have something like the new virtual reality of the performance industry, the impact of COVID-19, or something like that, if you do have a second part of your title. This long a positive phrase where Americans for the Arts is identified. This is taken word for word from the original, so it shows up in the Turnitin report. It's obviously not a kind of plagiarism in the sense that I don't know how else you would say this. But you could probably say the Americans for the Arts and just leave it at that, eliminate the other part of it. The other issue has to do with who the actual source for this is. So Americans for the Arts is not going to be in your works cited page because that's not where you got the information from. This is that article that has it's like some mayor's organization or something like that. So you're going to need to indicate parenthetically and so instead of citing, I guess what I'm saying, instead of citing Americans for the Arts, you want to cite the source that you actually got this from, and it seemed to be U.S. mayors or something like that. So when that ends up in your works cited page, be sure that I'm able to connect this information, the $4.98 billion, to the source that you got it from, not the source that they got it from. And then the other big thing I think is really... is this the point of your article, that the new virtual reality that could ultimately destroy the performance industry while bringing, I think my suggestion here is your article about destroying the industry or reshaping it? That is like many things, education and business, everything else, the experience of COVID, the change it's going to make in people's lives, the familiarity with technology, is it just going to change or reshape what the live performance is like? It may not be as good, it may not be the same, but I don't think it's a matter of destroying it. It's a matter of it adapting to something new. So down here, we're going to have a similar kind of thing. You have, I'm assuming, you have this according to IBIS World Incorporated. Now, that would seem to be who's responsible for the information. I don't know if it's what is going to be on the works cited page. Again, this is another $2.26 billion, which, you have $5 billion up here and 26 down here. I don't know if this is the $5 billion within the first 2 months, if 26 is the overall, but that seems to be what's going on here. At that point, you introduce the source Chaland, and again, I think you want to introduce the full name. So the first question I have is, Chaland actually the same as this source up here? Is this a separate source? And if so, how are you going to distinguish them on the works cited page? Then you have a number of quotes or information from Chaland, and I guess that part is fine. I'm just reading this last. Yeah, again, Chaland really kind of dominates this paragraph. So there is a question as to whether or not that one source is become too much of a source. Then we switch to the article on Broadway. There's a New Yorker's Michael Schumann. That signal phrase is probably better. And so I think the idea about the Actors Fund and all that is probably appropriate too. But if you look at what your plan to do here is, so let's take a look. You have, I'm assuming these are the topic sentences for the next 2 paragraphs, or maybe this is the topic sentence for the conclusion. So with the introduction of the internet, the music industry realized a devastating financial loss due to, this Napster and LimeWire and BearShare, this I'm a little thrown by, because these are all things that happened, I think, in the 1990s is when Napster was the thing. So the question is, back up at your top, is COVID-19 2020 what you're talking about, or is COVID-19 sort of the last nail in the coffin for something that started back in the 90s with the internet? If that's the case, then maybe this paragraph should come much sooner. COVID exacerbated issues that had existed in the industry since the internet, and then write that paragraph. Then write the paragraph about the one kind of based on the 26 billion lost in 2020. You could certainly write about how the entertainment industry, especially the music industry, I think was, not in very good shape because of the internet before COVID hit. Then, the COVID comes. But your paragraph really then sort of seems to become about how artists like you outlined here adapted to it. So maybe that's a second paragraph. Chelan could appear in more than one paragraph. So it doesn't have to be an article that just focuses on that. I mean, a paragraph that focuses on one article. If Chelan's making a point to support two paragraphs, then bring him in the separate paragraphs. So again, that's my primary structural question, is whether all of this stuff should go up sooner, since it happened well before COVID. Then the next question, should we go out to see the Broadway store or stay in? Broadway show or stay in? Always difficult to ask a question in a sentence, but not in the sentence there on the question mark. I think you should simply say, people will increasingly ask, should we go out tonight to see a Broadway show or stay in and stream it? Question mark. End of sentence. Begin a new sentence after this point. Beginning and also the end of the live performance industry. I think I kind of see the point you're making, but again, it's maybe the end of one era and the beginning of another. I think there's a lot of opportunities with that in the future. So is it a matter of destroying the industry, or is it a matter of the industry changing itself to adjust to the new reality? All right. So those are the questions or suggestions I have right now. If you want me to look at a more developed working draft before you submit the final one, then send it to me via email, and I'll respond to you Monday or early Tuesday about that. All right. Thanks.